What's up, guys? We are back with another Super 7 Ultimates review, jumping into a brand new line that just happens to be making its debut at San Diego Comic-Con. We are taking a look at the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Comic Colors G.I. Joe COBRA B.A.T. So, of course, G.I. Joe Wave 1 is not here just yet, but they managed to get the exclusive B.A.T out in time for San Diego, and we're taking a look at it now. In typical Ultimates fashion, it does come in a slipcover. We've got our sort of trapezoidal style box, and this one's done up in, of course, COBRA style camouflage. You've got the COBRA logo there on the front. It is sort of foil embossed as well, which we see a lot with the exclusive stuff. And you've got sort of like a distressed look all over the packaging, and then you've got a name tag down here for the B.A.T. Of course, it is a slipcover, so pop that off, and you've got your figure there in the big window. Nice metallic blue color scheme for this particular box, and then the back gives you like a computer readout, very much like what you would see in the cartoon, alongside a bio for what the B.A.Ts really are. So yeah, I'm really excited about this guy because, well, new Ultimates, but of course brand new line altogether. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our G.I. Joe Ultimates COBRA B.A.T, very much doing the same thing we had with Turtles Wave 1, where we get the exclusive just a bit before we get the actual wave itself. So we got that glow-in-the-dark Baxter right before Wave 1 hit for Turtles. We're getting our comic-style COBRA B.A.T before Wave 1. And this is, however, not exactly just a repaint. So there are a few changes for this guy. There are some accessory differences. Some stuff isn't present on this one, and then it does have some things that the Wave 1 version doesn't have. Of course, this one's blue. And there's also a few different parts here as well. Like the elbows are sculpted differently on this figure because of just how it's designed. Still overwhelmingly the same figure, but of course it is kind of its own thing at the same time. So let's see what this thing can do, see how it moves around. I will say right off the bat, no pun intended, that this figure does seem to be like one of those figures that I talk about when I talk about Thundercats. So we're going in the right direction. Things are changing, things feel better, things are more fluid, feel smoother. But this guy also incorporates some stuff that I have been rather vocal about when it comes to specific points of articulation where I feel like they're missing on Ultimates. So there's some improvements for things in general here. So let's see what he can do. We've got our head that can look up pretty good. He can look down really good also. The neck is a little bit mobile on this because the retail version, I say retail, the Wave 1 version has a removable neck that you swap stuff out. So this guy's a little bit more mobile because of that. He doesn't have the stuff to swap out. That's one of the changes. But you get my idea there. You've got full rotation, of course. Arms go out at the shoulder. You, of course, can swivel them all the way around. We've got our bicep swivel. Single jointed 90-degree elbow. You've got forearm swivel because of how these guys swap their parts for the weapons. And then you've got hinges and rotation at the wrist. Now the thing I'm most excited about here though is the torso. So there's figures in Ultimates in various lines that they don't have really any torso articulation, like Bebop or Rocksteady probably, Shredder, things like that, where Casey Jones, they really don't have a whole lot. They don't have a crunch, and while they are pegged at the waist, they really don't have any clearance to actually move or do anything. This is not perfect. There's still room to grow, I think, but this is a more Mythic Legion style. You know, the Horsemen are involved in Ultimates, so it kind of makes sense that maybe we could incorporate that scheme. So you've got a full twist, you've got your tilt side to side a little bit, and you've got your ball peg sort of, it's not a crunch, but the same idea is present. It's not perfect, and I know things could be better still, but I'm really happy to see them starting to implement something like that because it's going to be a game changer just in terms of being a little bit more dynamic with these figures. As far as the legs go, you've got a holster on this side, and it does impede legs going outward. It impedes a lot, really. So this leg will only go out about that far. You're going to start to jack up your holster, obviously. Forward, it's pretty good. It wants to pull it back down, though. And then you really don't have anything back. There is a very, very well-hidden thigh cut here. You can see it there, but when you're looking at it dead on, like, it's really hard to notice it. This leg, however, can go about that far forward. It goes further out. And you still got, of course, thigh cut and everything like that. We've got our single jointed knees, but these are pretty good range. I feel like they're about as close to 90 as we're going to get. No rotation on those knees, though. You do have a boot cut, though. And then we've got rocker. And we've got hinges down at those ankles. So I mean, it's still a very normal Ultimates, but at the same time, again, I think it feels a little bit better. It feels more in line with a lot of the stuff we've been getting very recently, which is a very good thing as far as I'm concerned. I'm really happy to see this. Again, it's not perfect. There could be more movement at that ball peg waist, but I'm excited to see it there because the fact that they're implementing it means that we should be able to see that in different figures. Because just think about if Bebop or Rocksteady or Shredder or Casey, I'm really hung up on those Turtles figures, had something like that, they'd be just a little bit more dynamic when it comes to posing. And I think this bat is a pretty good indicator of maybe where we're going to see Joe's in general, because they all will probably incorporate that same kind of articulation. Now, as far as aesthetics goes, I'm incredibly happy with this figure. A lot of that stems from the fact that I now know how good the regular bat is going to be, because this thing's pretty fantastic. I'm going to go so far as to say that this figure, in just Ultimates in general, is definitely one of the top tier Ultimates. We are very much kind of hitting a crest when it comes to really good Ultimates right now. You know, hot off the heels of Thundercats Wave 5 for me, which was through and through an incredibly good wave. And then this guy, he feels like a progression of what I've been seeing a lot lately. And that comes in the aesthetics, the visuals, the paint, the sculpt, the whole 9 yards. This is a really fantastic looking bat. You know, again, this thing isn't exactly the same as the Wave 1 version. Elbows are a little bit different. Paint color is obviously different here too. Blue is of course the overwhelming color, but there's tons of little detail on this thing. Tons of sculpt in these forearms, tons of silver paint, all of this little detail as far as the belts, the pins on the grenades are painted, the belt buckles are painted, the belts themselves are painted, the straps, the fringes on the boots, the caps of the boots, things like that. All of that little bits and bobs, those are all painted, tons of detail. And then of course there's tons of detail in the chest plate also, which is its own cool little thing, because one really interesting detail of this is that they hid how you work the chest plate. It makes perfect sense in hindsight, but I was really concerned that you weren't going to be able to peg anything through here because, well, there's a plastic chest plate over this. How do I peg the energy effect in? And there is a little notch hidden under the belt that allows you to pop that clear chest cover off. So then you can get into there and see all of that detail, take it off, remove it, and then put that energy effect on there to make it look like he's being hit with, laser blast. So there's a lot of detail on this thing. I think it's incredibly well sculpted. Sizing is really well. Like it's not a big, bulky Ultimates figure. It just happens to be in this larger scale. So it definitely is more of a standard humanoid kind of character when it comes to Ultimates, which makes perfect sense for a bat. But it's a great looking figure. The colors contrast really nicely. You know, blue and orange very much go together. So this works visually. It's very appealing. At least to me, it's very appealing. And then, of course, you can't really ever go wrong with metallics. And there's tons of that. Plenty of silvers, lots of little bits and bobs to sort of draw your attention. And then you have your very iconic COBRA bat helmet up here, which does look pretty fantastic also. This is of course different from the Wave 1 release also, because the faceplates and everything aren't exactly the same, but the silver up there is really clean, very crisp. You've even got silver in these little like vent holes there, and that fin that runs down the top just sort of works. It's a cool looking head sculpt, helmet sculpt, whatever you want to call it. But it's a great looking figure, incredibly happy with it. Love the sculpt, love the paint, love the little details, and I really, again, it's a small thing, but I love the fact that this little notch over here is hidden by the belt, because it would be an eyesore, and I'm happy to see that it's, not in the way, and you can easily get that chest cover off, but also don't have to see how it works. Now, as far as some size comparisons go, since we don't have other G.I. Joe Ultimates yet, let's do other Ultimates. So we've got Sleepy Frozen Lion-O, the SDCC Thundercat, and Metalhead from Turtles, because why not use the other robot? You can see here, this bat is actually kind of tall. Like, he's still very much in the realm of normal humanoid Ultimates, but he does have a little height on him. He is taller than Lion-O, and Lion-O's kind of your normal boilerplate average kind of figure. Metalhead, of course, skews on the small side. Let's do an actual G.I. Joe. So here's a Crocmaster from the classified line. Now obviously, this is a whole different kind of line, so they're not going to scale, and they're going to look different next to each other. But you can see exactly what he looks like next to a classified figure. And then I don't know, because I got him handy, here is a Reaction Destro for sizing against a 3 3/4 figure. And then let's move Metalhead aside, and here is a Figuarts. So there's the SDCC Goku. And then let's do a Black Series, because of course Black Series scale a little bit smaller than Classified in many ways. So there's the Marshall, the one and only Cobb Vanth with our B.A.T. So I think he's going to scale pretty well with anything 7-inch. I mean, he's a cyborg robot thing. You can kind of fudge it into anything, really. He does have a little bit of height on him, but he's going to look pretty good with pretty much all of your Ultimates and other 112-ish kind of stuff. If you want some sort of hulking thing to go along with your 112 Classified series, you've got that. He might look okay there, but it's going to scale, of course, the best with Ultimates. Now, as far as accessories goes, our B.A.T does have a pretty solid amount. Like there's a lot of stuff here. And again, there are some things that are different from what we're going to see in the retail release. A lot of it is the same, but not all of it. So to start with, we do get some extra hands. Let's just kind of run through that, the change-up parts, things like that. So we've got fists on them come in the box. So you get 2 fists. You get 2 sets of trigger finger hands, and these are vertical and lateral hinges. So you get one of each for up and down and side-to-side movements. And then you get this sort of style posy, slightly gripping, menacing kind of hand. You get a set of those. So there are 6 extra hands here. We do get an extra head sculpt, and this is our battle damaged head with the cracked visor. Now this is also different from the regular figure, because the regular one has a different head design to begin with, so of course it has to be a different sculpt. But the regular one is designed for the energy effect to also go into the head. This one does not do that. So this is just a crack in the visor just to give you some battle damage. I do really like that, though. It's a pretty cool design. And of course, battle damage for the B.A.Ts makes perfect sense. We do get the aforementioned energy effect, though. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the removable clear chest plate cover, this piece. And you've got that hole there, and you get this little sort of energy crackle effect that pops out to make it look like, you know, some electricity sparking out of it, which I think is really cool. And the regular version will have a battle damage head that accommodates that. And then there's also a neck piece on the regular version that is omitted here to show like a head being blown off and electricity sparking out of the head itself. As far as weaponry goes, we do get a machine gun. And this is just done up in sort of like silvery metallic. It's a different metallic from the arms. It's slightly more bronze, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's not silver, but neither are the arms. The arms also have a hint of blue in them. So a bunch of sculpt on that, tons of little detail, and then again covered in metallic paint. And then we also get the sidearm pistol, which is pretty minimal in terms of design, but I do like this. It's very G.I. Joe. And you've just got the same kind of color on that, and it fits in the holster really, really well. Again, you know, the holster does kind of limit things when it comes to moving that leg, but it looks good with that gun in there. And then we, of course, get the backpack. And this actually sits on top of the shoulders. It doesn't peg into the back. There's channels inside these trenches on the tops of the shoulders where there are pegs that go down in there. And it holds pretty well. I was kind of worried about it at first. It seemed like an odd system, but it does work really well. So you get the backpack, and of course it's colored appropriately for this release. And then you get the attachments. So we get, you know, the flamethrower attachment. And you get, the laser cannon kind of attachment. And then, of course, the always popular claw attachment for the arms. And these work just like hands do. So it's not just the hand, it's the entire forearm that you will pop off, and then you can peg another one on there. So that way you can switch them in and out. So that's what I was saying earlier about the hands being kind of weird, in that there are extra parts that swap off, because you can see here it's not just the hand, it's the entire front part of the arm and wrist that comes with it. Now, as far as what's really specific to this figure, because all of this stuff really shows up in the retail release except for the fact that the head is different, is this. So this is the spore canister, and it basically takes the place of the backpack. So let's pop this guy off. And I'm going to take this out too, just to get it out of the way. And you peg this on, and you've got the spore canister on his back, and it actually does open. And there are 3 spores in there that are removable. So you can pop these off. They just sit on these little pegs, and you've got the purple spores there. So that's kind of a, you know, I guess, is it a deep cut? I don't know if it's a deep cut, but it's definitely a different thing. and of course a different way to play up your bats, and a different idea, different take on them if you don't want him to be the one that has the backpack on, or if somehow you end up with a bunch of these and you want to have them all kitted out differently. It's really big. I'm not sure that I'm going to say it like makes him back heavy, but you do have to pose him appropriately as a result, because it's heavier than the regular backpack. It's not that heavy though, so maybe just be aware when you're posing him. So I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff, and I'm assuming I'm not missing anything. That's about it, I believe. He has a whole lot of different options, and frankly, that's what this kind of figure is about. Options, being able to change it up, put it in a weird different situations, battle damaged, clean, with all the attachments, with the backpack, with the spore pack, all of it. You do have a lot of different things that you can do with this figure, because it frankly just comes with a whole mess of accessories. So yeah, overall, I am super happy with this figure. You know, again, this is an exciting one to get a hold of because of the fact, well, it's the first G.I. Joe Ultimates. It's a bat. There's two good things right there, a bat and the first figure. And it's also incredibly nice that this figure is really good. So this gives us a really good indication of where this particular Ultimates line is going. He has a ton of accessories, tons of crazy parts, lots of fun accessories, lots of weird ways to change him up. And then of course the figure also just happens to look fantastic, and I think it moves probably better than most other Ultimates. I do think that there have been some things taken into consideration on this figure that have been complaints for other figures, especially when it comes to that waist. It's not the best waist ever by any means, but it definitely is a step in the right direction, and I'm really glad that they decided to implement something that actually allows a figure with a solid torso to move in some fashion, you know, instead of just swiveling at the waist. So I'm pretty excited about this guy, and it gives us a really good indication of where Ultimate Joes are headed. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Ultimates San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Comic Cobra Bat. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.